1710 maybe. Yeah, but he teaches in the Oklahoma City School District. My brother does. So. There it is. We're off. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started. So last week we were I do have a couple of announcements. This is the last class in Genesis, so if everything goes right, we'll finish Genesis chapter 50 today. James and I have done pretty good staying together, but last week he got a chapter ahead of me. But so I'll just review 44 and go into 45 and so forth. So we still have several chapters to go. Next week, beginning in December, that quarter, that winter quarter, so December, January, February, we're going to be studying 1st and 2nd Peter, and that's going to be in here, and there will also be an alternate class in the outreach area. Richard Aller will be teaching the class in here, and Eric and, is it you, Weldon? Jesse? Jesse Mullins, that's right. I always forget. All right, so Jesse Mullins and Eric Mallett will be teaching 1st and 2nd Peter in the other building. So we do have books, journaling Bibles for the 1st and 2nd Peter in the ESV as well as the NIV. They are $5 a piece. If you would like one, you can come up and slip $5 in the envelope. I trust you. You don't have to tell me, but just slip $5 in the envelope and take the books. They're up here, and you can have your choice while supplies last. And James, did you find more? Terry has them. So if there's none here, talk to Terry. She may have some extras as well. So at this point in the account, all of his brothers have now returned to Joseph in Egypt, including Benjamin. And he commanded the stewards of his house to fill the men's sack with food as much as they could carry, and put each man's money in the mouth of his sack, and put my cup, the silver cup, in the mouth of the youngest with his money for the grain. And so he wants to test his brothers to see if they would treat Benjamin the way they treated him. Now, we know that a lot of the animosity of the brothers toward Joseph was that he was his father's favorite. There's no doubt. Behind Joseph, his father's next favorite was who? Benjamin, right? Now, he's seen how his brothers treated him when he got in the way. Let's see what he'll do to my younger brother Benjamin if push comes to shove. And so in this case, he sets up Benjamin to see how his brothers will react. See, will they cut him loose? Or they say, well, too bad for Benjamin, and go back? Or will they fight tooth and toenail to get Benjamin back? And that's the test here. Will they treat Benjamin the way they treated me? And so as the morning dawns, and they set off. And of course, he sends his servants after them. You've stolen my drink, and they say, whichever of your servants may be found with it shall die, and we will also be my Lord's servant. Look, we'll be your servants, but whoever stole what you're accusing us of stealing will die. Now, they're confident. The brothers are confident that cup is not with us. And of course, they do the search, and where do they find it? They find it in Benjamin's. That's right. When they saw that it was Benjamin's, they every man tore their clothes and they returned to the city. They're distraught. They cannot believe that this is happening. Now notice when they go back, this is an interesting shift in the account. When they go back, it says when Judah and his brothers came to Joseph's house. This is more of a private resident, not the official residence, more of a private resident. But Moses seems to make great pains to say that this is Joseph's house. I've marked it in red as you go through here, let's see, 43 also, yeah. So they're in Joseph's house. So they've got out of the official circles now, and they're going back. This is taking place at Joseph's house, and there's an intimacy there, I believe, in what Moses is telling us, that they are shifting away from the official. They're leading up to this grand reveal that Joseph is actually their brothers. And Judah, of course, comes, and he's going to put himself out there. What shall we say, my Lord? What shall we speak? We had no idea Benjamin would do this. That's not like Benjamin. I don't know how Benjamin was at home, but if he were a kleptomaniac, if he was stealing things at home, they didn't know about it. They thought he was a good boy. What shall we say? How can we clear ourselves? God has found out guilt of your servants. Behold, we are my Lord's servants, both we, also the one in whose hand the cup was found. But he said, far be it from me that I should do so. Only the man in whose hand the cup was found shall be my servant. But as for you, you go up in peace. So Joseph's not having it. He says, look, the only one I'm concerned about is the one who took the cup. And Judah says, oh, no, my Lord. Please let your servant speak a word in my Lord's ear. And so he's going to go to bat, tells him, the frailty of his father, and how much his father loves Benjamin, and if we show up without Benjamin, he's going to die. He would die of a heart attack on the spot. He tells him, when we went back, we told him the words of my Lord. Our father said, go again, buy us a little food, but we cannot go down if our youngest brother doesn't go. And so he says, you can go, but if any harm happens to him, verse 29, Jacob says, you will bring down my gray hairs in evil to Sheol. And so this idea, he's trying to save his father. Therefore, as soon as I come to your servant, my Lord, the boy is not with us. His life is bound up in the boy's life. As soon as he sees the boy is not with us, he will die. So he's concerned about his father. Remember, Joseph has shown concern about their father too, right? The very first meeting, he says, is your father alive? Yeah, our father's alive. Do you have any other brothers? Yeah, we got one, but he's back home. So Joseph has shown some interest in them. And so, look, if you have interest in my father, who is your servant, I love that language. What's the old? There was a Garfield. Y'all remember Garfield the cat? And it says, "The bigger they are, the nicer I am." And that's sort of what's going on here. Judah and the brothers know their position before Pharaoh. I mean, he is second only to Pharaoh. And this man, he's big. Maybe not in stature, but he's big in authority, and he's big in power. And so they keep referring to themselves, your servants. We're your servants. We're your servants. We're your servants. We don't pretend to be anything more than your servants. But I cannot go back to my father without my brother. Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood before him. He cried, "Make everyone go out of the room from me." So no one stayed with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. And he wept aloud. Been marking also in here the weeping. This is a very tender and emotional moment. In fact, I think it's probably in the top 10 or maybe even top 5 of the most emotionally charged moments in the Bible. I mean, think about this man who, what must be going through Joseph's mind. They captured me. They threw me in a pit. They sold me to a caravan of traders. He doesn't know what they have told Jacob. He doesn't know about the coat of many colors. They don't know about the goat's blood. They don't know. He doesn't know that part. He only knows his half of the story, which he was sold into a caravan of traders. He was taken to Egypt. He was sold as a slave in Potiphar's house. He's accused of rape. He's thrown in jail. He's there multiple years before he's allowed to come out. He interprets Pharaoh's dream. He rises up to the second in command of all of Egypt. I mean, that's a story of movies, right? I mean, we make movies out of this story, and that's running through his mind. Their treatment of him, his dreams. Your sheaves bowed down to my sheaves. All the stars, bowed down to me. And he's witnessing this in this very moment. And he's now got to see he's seen all of his half-brothers, right? All of those were half-brothers. Benjamin is his only full brother where he shares the same two parents with. It's Benjamin. And he wept aloud. So much so that everyone that went out from him, the Egyptians heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard it. And Joseph said to his brothers, I am Joseph. Is my father still alive? But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed at his presence. All of the emotions, everything he was feeling, now the other 11 are feeling it. The uncertainty, the shock. You know, he's had some time to prepare for it, but it's very emotional for them. Imagine how they feel in this moment. Do you ever make a choice, maybe to buy something or do something, and about halfway through you realize it was the wrong choice, and you get that feeling in the pit of your stomach? I get that sometimes, and I hate that feeling. And things don't seem to work out, and it's just the worse it gets, the worse I feel. And I can just imagine these men being told, I'm Joseph. And it's one of those oh no moments. There's a sickness in the pit of their stomach. This is Joseph. And I'm thinking the very first thing that they remember is pulling him out of the pit and selling him to the caravan of traders. Oh yeah, absolutely. In fact, in the rest of the story, we find that's exactly what they're thinking. But up until this moment, they think we've got off scot-free. And now all of a sudden, everything that they have done and lied about, told their father, it's coming back to haunt them. In this moment, they are dismayed at his presence. Where Joseph is overjoyed at their presence, they are dismayed at his. Joseph said to his brothers, come near to me, please. And they came near, and he said, I am your brother, Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. And I mark, notice there's two ones here. You sold me to Egypt, but God sent me to preserve life. So what he's going to do is he's going to contrast their attitudes or their actions with what God has done through this particular part. The famine has been in the land for these 2 years. There are yet 5 years left. We're not even halfway through, he says, in which there will be neither plowing nor harvest. God sent me before you to preserve for you a remnant on earth, to keep alive for you many survivors. So God sent me before you to preserve a remnant, and that specifically is the remnant for you, that you may have survivors. God wasn't just doing this for me, he's doing it for all of us. So it was not you who sent me here, but God. He made me a father to Pharaoh, the lord of his house, and ruler over all the land of Egypt. Now hurry and go up to my father. You see how he keeps bringing back these ideas. I'm father to Pharaoh. Now you go and get my father. Say to him, thus says your son Joseph, God has made me lord of all of Egypt, and come down here to me. And so he's taking this position of authority. God has made me lord of all of Egypt. I have this authority. Now, under this authority, come down to me. Do not tarry. I'm opening to you the land of Goshen. You shall dwell in the land of Goshen, the best of the land. So you go and tell your father, and you bring you and your children and your children's children, your flocks, your herds, and all that you have, and I will provide for you. For there are yet 5 years of famine to come, so that you and your household and all that you have do not come to poverty. And now your eyes see, the eyes of my brother Benjamin see, that it is my mouth that speaks to you. You must tell my father of my honor in Egypt, and all that you've seen. Hurry and bring my father down here. And then he fell upon his brother Benjamin's neck, and he wept. And Benjamin wept upon his neck, and he kissed all his brothers and wept upon them. After that, his brothers talked with him. When the report was heard in Pharaoh's house, remember they were in Joseph's house. When the report was heard in Pharaoh's house, everything that's going on, that Joseph's brothers have come, it pleased Pharaoh and his servants. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, say to your brothers, And so he sends him, go home, get your father, and bring him back, and I will give you the best of the lands. I like that it pleases the Pharaoh, because not long after we get into the book of Genesis, what happens? In Exodus, there arises a Pharaoh that does not know Joseph, right? And what's that Pharaoh's attitude toward the family? Well, he's not pleased. He's terrified, actually. And out of that terror, he makes some, we would say, bad decisions, poor decisions. But right now, Pharaoh is pleased with them. He says, bring them back, gives them wagons, gives them everything they need to travel back and get Jacob, Israel, bring him back to them. And so the sons of Israel did so. Joseph gave them wagons according to the command of Pharaoh, gave them provisions for the journey to each, and all of them gave a change of clothes. But to Benjamin, he gave 300 shekels of silver and 5 changes of clothes. I guess he doesn't want him stinky on the way home. Change your clothes often. We don't want them all sweaty. 5 changes of clothes. It's just the favor of one brother toward another brother. To his father he sent as follows: 10 donkeys loaded with goods of Egypt, 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread and provisions for his father on the journey. So he's not just giving them enough to get back home, but to get them back here. And I love his parting words to his brothers. What? Do not quarrel on the way. What do you suppose he's heading off at the pass by saying that? What are they going to be tempted to talk about on the way? Yeah, whose idea was it to do this? Whose idea? That was your idea, Judah. No. I was the one that said don't kill him. Let's sell him. Whose idea? Yeah. Listen, we have a tendency to want to place blame when bad things happen. Something very bad has happened and it's come back to bite them. And now they want to place blame. Who is to blame for where we are, this predicament that we're in now? Joseph said, hey, when you're on your way, don't worry about arguing over that. It doesn't matter. That's really what he's telling them. Do not quarrel on the way. Don't try to affix blame. Joseph's already revealed who he thinks is to blame for all of this, right? God. God is the one that did all of this. God did all of these things. You thought you were doing it for evil, but God meant it for good. That's his statement in chapter 50. God has a purpose, right? And so we're starting to see that God is in control in the kingdoms of men. Raises up whom he will, and takes out whom he will. That's God's choice. And that's hard for us to understand in our modern ways, right? How does God raise up leaders in the church and leaders in the community and leaders in a nation or other nations? How does God do that? And you look at Joseph's story, and they sold him into slavery. The slave traders sold him to a household. The household put him into prison. The prison took him out and put him, interpreting Pharaoh's dream. Pharaoh put him as it looks like there's a lot of hands making this pie, doesn't it? And yet, when Joseph looks back, he says there's really just one. It's God. And all of these other hands that are in it are there as the ministers of God. And that's the same way it is today. I still believe that God is in control in the kingdoms of men. So they went up to Egypt and came to the hand of Canaan, the land of Canaan, to their father Jacob. And they told him, Joseph is still alive and he is ruler over all the land of Egypt. And Jacob's heart became numb. You can imagine the shocking news in that moment. My son was dead, but now he's alive. Now, do you think in that moment, Jacob may have began wondering, what happened to Joseph? how did he become ruler over all the land of Egypt? How did he get to Egypt? Why did I get his coat of many colors soaked in blood? I thought surely he was dead. And he's wondering, how is this even possible? Now, I can imagine that he probably heard the stories about his father when his father was a little boy, and his grandpa took him to Mount Moriah, and they built an altar there, and then his grandfather grabbed him, tied him up, put him on the altar, and was about to kill him. Do you remember what the book of Hebrews says about Abraham's attitude in that moment? Yeah, thought God might bring him back to life. They had a faith in God's power of life as a family. And maybe he's thinking that the animals that killed my son, God raised him from the dead to put him in that position. Maybe that's what he's thinking. Maybe he's thinking that the brothers told him a story, lied to him. Maybe that's what he's thinking. I know in moments like that of uncertainty, oftentimes I think about all the different possibilities. I think of the possibilities I can muster. Let me put it that way. Not all the different possibilities. I think of the possibilities I can muster. And
can you imagine after having that fear of meeting Joseph and then going home and then Dad finally figured it out and they were scared, getting scolding from their dad? Double whammy?
yeah. What's that?
That's all hit me, man.
Yeah.
I was going to say that when you said that Joseph didn't know part of the story, makes me stop and think about, who knows what part of each story, and I was thinking about it, that when Judah came to him privately and he was like, okay, look, this is what's going to happen if I go back without the boy, blah, blah. And he gives Joseph a little bitty hint that your dad might think you're dead, and it was from his own mouth. He's the one that
Yeah.
told him. And I think that might have been the straw that broke the camel's back when Joseph was like, okay, I was thinking maybe I'm just going to get my brother back and everything will be just fine, these guys can just go on and do what they're going to do, and I'll have my brother and everything will be good. But then this huge,
Yeah.
God's huge plan just became
Yeah.
so evident.
And they told Joseph with such confidence, one is at home and one is no more. They have no compunction, but they've been saying that for years. That it has become the truth, right? If you repeat a lie often enough, it becomes the truth. That has become their truth, their understanding of the way the world is and what is happening. When he's telling the story, Judas doesn't hesitate to say one is no more. But Joseph picks up on that. One is no more. See, one is at home. That has to be Benjamin. All the others are here except me, and they think that I am no more. Yet they know what they did to me. There's no wonder there's so much weeping and emotion tied up in all of this. When they told him all the words of Joseph, which he had said to them, and when he saw the wagons that Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of their father Jacob revived. And Israel said, "It is enough. Joseph, my son, is still alive. I will go and see him before I die." He wants this so much now. So Israel took his journey with all that he had. He came to Beersheba. What's the significance of Beersheba? Remember, it's the 7 wells, or the well of 7 oaths, the well of 7. But it was a place of sacrifice set up by Isaac, and Jacob earlier in his life went back there, and major things happened there, and it was for him, for Jacob in his mind, I believe Beersheba is like a holy place. Okay, we're going to go see Joseph, But before we go there, we need to make a stop in Beersheba, at the wells of Beersheba. Why? Well, to offer sacrifices, to worship God. Because Joseph now has received in his mind one of the greatest gifts. His son that was alive, or was dead, is now alive. And then God spoke to him in this place, in a vision at the night. Jacob, Jacob, and he says, here I am. Then he said, I am God, the God of your father. Do not be afraid to go down to Egypt, for there I will make you into a great nation. I myself will go down with you to the Egypt. I will also bring you up again, and Joseph's hand shall close your eyes. In other words, you will get to see Joseph. He will be there as you die. He will comfort you in that moment. And I'm going to make you a great nation while you're in Egypt. Now, what great nation was there at that time? Egypt. And he says, but I'm going to make you greater than even Egypt.
It says, do not be afraid. You suppose he had second thoughts about going down, taking all of his family and all this stuff down? I mean, that's a big step.
Listen, when we get toward the end of our lives, and it may be time to transition out of the house that we're in, what do? Are we not a little afraid? Do we not try to hold on to what we have? We don't want to let anything go. You know, things are already being taken away from us. Our health sometimes our family, sometimes our happiness, and what little we can hold on to, we try to hold. We don't want to let this go. I can't let that go. I can't let this go. How can I move out of this house that I'm in with all my stuff and into maybe a retirement home where my stuff don't fit? Doesn't, you know? How do you think we're afraid? We're timid. We don't want to do that. It says, don't be afraid. And now, not only that, but he's sending him to Egypt, which is not known as being a particularly nice nation. They are domineering, imperialistic. And you're going to put me there?
And they have a reputation with his family because of Ishmael.
Yeah.
And not only that, but he's leaving the land that God promised to give him and his family. And so that would not settle well with me. Wait
Yeah.
a minute, I'm not, this is where my family's supposed,
This is what you gave me.
exactly. And so if we go down there and I'm going to make, that would be a little uneasy
Yeah.
to go someplace else when you promised me that this is where we were supposed to inherit.
It's
So it doesn't look right because there's a big, huge gap.
yeah.
You know?
It's like Paula Abdul saying 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You've brought us to the land, but now we're having to take 2 steps back, right? Yeah. So here we go. God promises to be with him. Jacob set out from Beersheba. I love that there's an excitement. Joseph's alive. Let's go. But I love that he takes the time to go and worship God first. You know, this is where we need to be in our lives, that great things happen. There's excitement and joy, and we want to run headlong into embracing all of those things. Take the time to worship God. Take the time to worship God. He sets out from Beersheba. They travel. They carry all their livestock, all their goods, all his offspring. He brought with him into Egypt. Here's an accounting of the names. I love this. Reuben, that's his firstborn. And then Reuben's son, it goes through the 4 sons of Reuben. It goes through Simeon and his 6 sons, and Levi and his 3 sons, and Judah and his, 5, but 2 are dead. And then Perez, which was one of Judah's sons, Hezron and Hamul, and so he counts those as 7. It gets down here and it says the number from Leah is 33. Now, if you count them up, understand what you're counting is you're counting for Jacob. You're counting Jacob's sons, so there's 4 listed in this context, and then you're counting their sons. And those are the ones that are listed. So that's how you get to the number 33. If you're counting, don't forget to count the sons of Jacob, not just the grandsons that are mentioned here. And also, one of them mentions a daughter. Then Gad and Asher and Beriah, or Gad and Asher, and then Asher's son Beriah and his sons. come down. So not all of them have kids yet, but some of them do. Rachel's sons, there's Jacob and his sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. And then Benjamin. Benjamin is pretty productive. He's got 10 kids. So the sons of Rachel were born there were 14 persons in all. And then the sons of Dan and Naphtali. You get down here and there are 66 persons in all. Then you add in the ones that are already in Egypt, Joseph and his sons, those three, and you get a total of 70. There's 70 people that begin living, or 70 Jews in Egypt at that time to start this off. He sent Judah ahead of him to Joseph to show the way before him in Goshen. And so he's kind of the forerunner. He's going to go in. He's going to Joseph, hey, they're almost here. Let's get ready. So that's what they do. He presented himself. It fell on his neck. Or when Joseph prepares his Pharaoh or his chariot, he goes up and he meets Israel, his father. He can't even wait for him to get there. He goes up to him and he sees his father and he wept on his neck a good while. That's kind of a new addition. A lot of weeping going on, but this one went on a good while. I don't know how long a good while is, but I can imagine. It's one of those where you get near the end and then it starts all up again. And you get near the end and then it starts all over again. The memories that are flooding in, the thoughts, the possibilities. Israel said to Joseph, "Now let me die, since I have seen your face and know that you are still alive. This is all I need. This is everything I want." And he tells them how to appear before Pharaoh. Basically tells them, tell Pharaoh that you're shepherds, because every shepherd is an abomination to the Egyptians. The Egyptians don't like the livestock. That's kind of the lowest caste of the system, are the keepers of the livestock. They settle in Goshen. They go and they do appear before Pharaoh. He just sends 5 of the men, 5 brothers, go before Pharaoh. Pharaoh is glad to see them, tells them to settle yourselves in the best part of the land. Jacob finally comes in to face Pharaoh. Now remember, his grandfather met with Pharaoh, right? Abraham and Sarah, and the incident with Pharaoh taking Sarah. He's faced that. There's some interaction before. I don't know if the stories meant as much to the Egyptians, but it became part of the Israelite history. But I don't know if the Pharaohs read those stories or not. About the time that great-grandfather Pharaoh took a man's wife and ended up, God spoke to him and said, "You got to give her back. You touch her, you die." I don't know if they read that story or not, but Jacob read it. Jacob knew it. And he goes in and he blesses him. He blesses Pharaoh. And Pharaoh asks, "How old are you?" And he says, "I'm 130 years old. Few and evil have been the days and the years of my life, and they have not attained to the days of the years of the life of my fathers and the days of their sojourning." I'm one of the younger ones. My parents lived even longer. Jacob blessed Pharaoh, went out from his presence again. And so they settled in Goshen. Now notice, here it says, in the best of the land, in the land of Ramesses. When we start dating or trying to put dates on, say, the book of Genesis and these events, this is one of the clues that we look to. The land of Ramesses was named after Pharaoh Ramesses. And so it's thought that Ramesses was either this Pharaoh or a Pharaoh before this, so that the land could be named after him. However, that's not necessarily true. As we've seen earlier in the book of Genesis multiple times, and in other places as well, we get what we call a prolepsis. And I've mentioned that before. Does anyone remember what a prolepsis is? It means, it's from a Greek word that means to see beforehand. That's what it means, to see before. And the idea is, who is writing this? Moses. When is Moses writing this in comparison to when it's happening? over 400 years later. A lot can happen in 400 years. So Moses is telling the story. And at the time Moses exists, there is a land of Ramesses. But at the time that Jacob and Joseph exist, there may not be a land of Ramesses. In other words, that name may have come sometime during that 400 years. And so what Moses is doing is he's describing for people of his generation who are familiar with the land of Ramesses, and calls it the land of Ramesses so that they'll know exactly where they're talking. And we would do the same thing. A similar situation would be here, as if like, we were talking about, in Abilene, Texas, in the early 1700s, when the Native Americans were controlling this particular part. Well, in the early 1700s, there was no Abilene, Texas. But by saying that, what have you done? You've located it based upon places you know. In other words, Abilene. You know where Abilene, Texas is. Even though it's not called Abilene in the early 1700s, it is a place that you can locate on a map, and you know the general vicinity of what we're talking about. That's a prolepsis. And we saw that even earlier in the case of Beersheba, when it refers to it as Beersheba, and then it names it a few chapters later. You found the incident where he actually names Beersheba. You said, wait a minute, he's already called it Beersheba. Well, yeah, it was a prolepsis. So it doesn't necessarily mean that this was known as the land of Ramesses when Joseph and Jacob and the family settles there. It means that Moses knows that to be that area, because all along, what have they been calling it? Goshen. They've been calling it Goshen, which was an earlier name of that region. So now there's no food in all the land. The famine was very severe. The land of Egypt and the land of Canaan languished. Now notice this. The people are poverty-stricken. It says that Joseph, remember, he's the one that's meting out the food and the grain, and he gathered up how much of the money in the land of Egypt? All the money. There's no money left. Famine's still going on. People still need food. And they come to him and they say, give us food. Why should we die before your eyes? Our money is gone. And so Joseph says, what? Well, just take what you need. No? What does he say? Give me your livestock. Give me what you got. Right? So by the next year, there's still food left, but there's no livestock left in private ownership. And they come and they're starving. Why should we die before your eyes, both we and our land? Buy us and our land for food. Last thing we've got is ourselves and our land. Take it and give us the food. So they give themselves. They've given everything at first, except themselves. Now they're giving themselves, and so Joseph accepts that. He bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, for all the Egyptians sold their fields because the famine was severe on them. The land became Pharaoh's. It's all the government's land, you might say. As for the people, he made servants of them from one end of Egypt to the other. You all work for the government now. The only ones that were outside of that were the priests. He did not buy. They had a fixed allowance. And then they, of course, the people pledged their lives. We will be servants to Pharaoh. So Joseph made it a statute concerning the land of Egypt. And it stands to this day that Pharaoh should have a fifth of the land of the priests. The land of the priests alone did not become Pharaoh. So he tells them, look, you work for Pharaoh now, and here's what we'll do. You work your land, we'll give you the seed, you work your land, you plant, you till, you toil, and when the harvest comes in, we'll take a fifth part. We'll take 20%. You get the other 80%, but Pharaoh gets 20%. That's a lot. Of course, that was what saved them. If you go back to the 7 years of plenty and the 7 lean years, it was the fifth part that saved them. Remember, and what did God require of his people? A tenth part, half that. So Do you remember, this is an off the subject, and I don't have time for it, but we're going to say it anyway. When the people came to Samuel and said, give us a king so we can be like the nations around us. And he said, look, if you've got a king, it's going to cost you more in taxes, more in servants, more in military aid. It's going to cost you way more than what God is charging you right now. We don't care. We want to be like the world. There is a difference between how God runs things and how man runs things, and man is requiring more. Jacob lived in the land of Egypt, it says 17 years, so he ends up, you remember he's 130 when he meets Pharaoh. He lives 17 more years. He's going to die when he's 147 years old, and he makes Joseph promise that you will bury me with my fathers. That's in that cave in the field of Machpelah, near just east of Mamre, that Abraham bought from Ephron the Hittite. You remember all that discussion back starting in Genesis 23. And so it's told that his fathers or your father is ill, and so he took him Manasseh and Ephraim. So Joseph wants a blessing for his children. Jacob is willing to give that, of course, and you know the story. He says, Ephraim and Manasseh will be mine. I'm going to receive them as part of my children, my inheritance of the 12 tribes of Israel. That's why as we go forward with the 12 tribes of Israel, Ephraim and Manasseh are in there, and Joseph is not. Because Joseph really has a double portion because of Ephraim and Manasseh. He's got two representatives there. But Jacob says they're to me just as Reuben and Simeon are, and he's going to give them a blessing. And in the blessing, he crosses his hands, and he puts his right hand on the younger and his left hand on the older, and gives the blessing. The God before whom my fathers, Abraham and Isaac, walked, the God who has been my shepherd all my life long to this day, the angel who has redeemed me from this evil, bless the boys. And there's the blessing. Bless these boys. And in them let my name be carried on, and the name of my fathers, Abraham and Isaac. Let them grow into a multitude in the midst of all the earth. And Joseph sees that, and he says, no, you got it mixed up. And he says, I know what I'm doing. The younger brother shall be greater than the older. And so it says, moreover, I have given to you rather than to your brothers one mountain slope that I took from the hand of the Amorites with my sword and my bow. And the word one mountain slope is the Hebrew word Shechem. And so I'm giving them the land of Shechem. So when Ephraim and half of the tribe of Manasseh, remember, Manasseh splits in half. One stays on the east side of the Jordan, the other goes to the west. But Ephraim and Manasseh are gathered around mountain of Ebal and the mountain of Gerizim, which are in the land of Shechem. This is what I've given to you. Chapter 49, Jacob then goes through blessings for each of his children. Reuben, you are my firstborn, my might, and the firstfruit of my strength, preeminent in dignity and preeminent in power, unstable as water. You shall not have preeminence because you went up to your father's bed. Remember, he took Bilhah, one of his father's concubines, to be his wife. So he's not qualified or not blessed to be the heir. Simeon and Levi, their weapons of violence are their swords. Remember, he says, you've brought shame on me. They are not going to be blessed as the progenitors. Judah, your brothers shall praise you. Your hand shall be on the neck of your enemies. The fourth son, he is the one that's going to receive the great blessing. The scepter shall not depart from Judah. What's a scepter? It's a ruler's staff. That's right. The ruler's staff will not depart from Judah, nor the ruler's staff from between his feet, until tribute comes to him, or until Shiloh comes. And to him shall be the obedience of the people. So he's telling Judah, you are the one who will be the lineage of the seed who was to come. Then he goes through Zebulun and Issachar, Dan and Gad and Asher and Naphtali, Joseph. All of them get their blessings. And then Benjamin. Benjamin is a ravenous wolf, in the morning devouring the prey, and at the evening dividing the spoil. It's kind of, of all of these, Benjamin, the one that he loves, he is the ravenous wolf. This is the 12 tribes of Israel. And then he dies, and the people gathered him together. Joseph fell on his father's face and he wept. Kissed him. Joseph commanded his servants and the physicians to embalm his father. I mean, that's one of the preeminent things we know about Egypt and Egyptology as we're studying the nation is their embalming practices. And here we see them embalming Jacob, the son of Isaac, the grandson of Abraham. Why? Well, because remember, he's not going to be buried in Egypt. He's going to be buried in the cave of Machpelah. 40 days were required for it. For that is how many are required for embalming. The Egyptians, even the Egyptians, wept for him 78 days. Why? Because he was the father of the second in all the land of Egypt. He's not just the second, he's the guy that saved the nation. And so there was love for him. Okay, that's all of them right there. So he asked Pharaoh, let me take my father up to bury him. He lets him go. He takes a whole cadre of people with him. They go all the way up. They come back to Egypt after they bury him. And now the brothers are afraid. It may be that Joseph will hate us and pay us back for all the evil that we have done. And when they asked him to forgive them, Joseph wept. You do not understand yet? I'm here to take care of you. I understand God. Do not fear, for am I in the place of God? As for you, you meant evil against me, but God meant it for good, to bring it about that many people should be kept alive as they are today. So do not fear. I will provide for you and your little ones. They remained there 110 years, and when he dies, they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. He doesn't, by the way, get to go to the cave of Machpelah because he is not the blessed one of the lineage. That's going to be Judah. So he is not buried in the tomb of the patriarch. He's put in Egypt, and there he is honored as well. All right. Thank you for your attention. 2 Peter next week. Richard Aller in here. Jesse and Eric in the alternate class over there.
Precious cornerstone, sure foundation.